Resident Evil: The Final Chapter is directed by Paul W.S. Anderson and stars Milla Jovovich, Ali Larter, and Mr. Friendzone from Game of Thrones. And I've never really been a fan of this Resident Evil franchise. To me, these are just kind of throwaway movies, so I didn't really expect much going into this. But I love over-the-top action movies. That's what I grew up on. I enjoyed those mindless action movies where you can just shove popcorn in your face. I can do that. By no means can I do that. And I like Milla Jovovich. I think she's a badass. And one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time is The Fifth Element. And I can buy into her being that badass action hero. And Paul Anderson's directed the majority of these Resident Evil movies. Everyone except for I think 2. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section. But I think he's directed everyone except 2 of those movies. But I checked out this guy's IMDb page after seeing this movie, and this guy directed Mortal Kombat. I seriously had no idea. To me, that is the best, that's the quintessential video game movie. I love that movie. That movie is so much fun. But it's been a while since I've played a Resident Evil video game, and I think the movies follow certain aspects from the games, but it seemed like every time I played a Resident Evil game, it was always dark and gloomy, and I seemed to get scared playing those games. I don't get scared watching these Resident Evil movies, but the games, for whatever reason, they were able to capture that horror vibe, and I think that's something that these Resident Evil movies just lack. They're still trying to borrow elements from like The Matrix and Blade, except throwing in shitty zombies and crappy CGI. This movie, man. This movie is one of the shittiest movies I've seen in a long ass time. And right from the beginning, they're trying to spoon feed you all of the shitty plot points from the previous films, probably because you never saw them or you don't remember anything about them, but it literally spends 10 minutes doing that, and since this is the final chapter, they have to take this movie back to where everything started. And this movie takes place 10 years after the first Resident Evil film, and Alice, who's played by Milla Jovovich, has to travel back to Raccoon City to find the antivirus, which will kill everyone that has been infected with the T-virus. But does this movie at least have a well-told story? No, it actually has a convoluted plot with a holographic 8-year-old who's only there to drive exposition. I can buy into big dumb action movies. That's what I grew up on. I love that type of stuff. Just give me badass action sequences along the way. That's all I ask. But I have never seen editing in a movie this shitty before in my entire life. I'm not kidding. The average shot in this movie is literally like 1 to 2 seconds. And there's seriously a scene between Alice and Ali Larter's character where they're just sitting in a room talking. And the movie just keeps cutting back and forth between the characters like every 1 to 2 seconds. It doesn't allow this movie any time to breathe, and it's a slower scene. This movie might give someone seizures. It felt like my eyeballs were bleeding while I was walking out of the theater. And I get what they're trying to do. They were trying to give this movie an energetic pace or style, but seriously, it was so bad. I honestly walked out of this theater with a headache. And there's moments in this movie where you can't even tell what's going on because the editing is so bad. And the first action set piece in this movie has that dragon bat thing from the trailer. I don't know if you saw it. You probably didn't even see the trailer, but the CGI for that creature is so bad. It looked like it was from 1999. And the way they edited around that creature, you could tell they wanted to hide that CGI. They didn't want to let you focus on it for more than 2 to 3 seconds. And the performances in this movie, they're not that bad. I've definitely seen a lot worse. But like I said earlier, I can buy into Milla Jovovich being that badass action hero. And I think she's an okay actress. I think she does a decent job. But her character is just so boring and one-dimensional. There's not one reason this movie gives me to care about this character. And as for the rest of the characters in this movie, they're pretty much just background characters. They're just noise. They're just there taking up space on the screen. And it's almost like Paul Anderson tries to make B-rate action movies. It feels like these movies should go straight to Netflix or home video right away. And I don't know, maybe that's what he thinks his style is, but this guy seriously makes Michael Bay look like Martin Scorsese. But at this point, you're probably not going to see this movie. But if you're a fan of the other Resident Evil movies, then go see it. You obviously don't care what the critics say or what the score is on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's cool. I can respect that. But for me personally, I think this is an abomination against humanity and should be burned so it can never see the light of day. This is seriously one of the worst movies that I've seen in years. So with all that said, I'm going to give Resident Evil: The Final Chapter an F. Guys, Whatever you do, for the love of God, do not see this movie, and what a way to go out in January, man. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and please make sure to subscribe for future videos. I'm Rex Overdrive. I'll see you next time.